Okay. Thanks everyone. So today I'm going to talk about beginning Crashlytics. This is something I use a lot, and I hope you guys will too. So first of all, why bother use something like this? So Crashlytics, as you'll soon see, is a tool that can help us manage crashes, when things go wrong in our apps, and also app usage and app monitoring and seeing what our users are doing on apps. Why do we want to do this? Well, no matter what your app does, whether it's in like what mine do for live events, whether it's going out to consumers to play games, going out to consumers to do tasks, or just being used by 2 people on your team, you want to know if things are going wrong. Because if a crash happens, it's a bad user experience. We don't want this. Your app closes immediately, you immediately dislike that app and you'll go and leave a bad review on the website. We don't want our users to do that. So if we see crashes happening, we want to make sure we get on top of those as quickly as possible. No matter how much you test an app, and my apps go through weeks and weeks of testing with a full testing team, test on multiple devices, yet I still see thousands and thousands of crashes. They can be due to live data not behaving, somebody's weird device that doesn't behave as every other device does. If the device is a Samsung, it'll crash all the time, and if anybody was here at one of my last talks, they crash all the time. Or maybe I made a bug in the code. It happens, nobody's perfect. So we want to get on top of these as quickly as possible, fix them, and redeploy our apps. So, Fabric and Crashlytics. It's a bit of a term that we can use interchangeably. Crashlytics is actually part of Fabric. It was its own tool, then it sort of got absorbed into Fabric. And now Fabric, which used to be owned by Twitter, is now owned by Google. And I think they're rolling all these tools into Firebase, which would be pretty cool. And they're tools to monitor your apps. So there's a whole bunch of tools as part of the Fabric package, including Crashlytics, Answers, a whole bunch of other different things that you can use to monitor and integrate with your app. And some of them are very similar to the Android Play console, A&R report or other different things. But some of them are a bit more powerful, which is really cool. And they're free with that little asterisk of, do check the T's and C's to make sure your app is suitable to work with them. Pretty easy to get started, just go to getfabric.io. So the hard way of getting started is you only really need to change 3 files. A little bit in the build Gradle, a little bit in the manifest, and a little bit in your main activity just to initialize. It's not too bad. The easier way is to use the plugin. There's a plugin with Android Studio. Essentially just click buttons and it does all the work for you. You can even create your account in the plugin. So what happens when we get a crash? Your user gets a crash, you see it on one of your test devices, you need to go and investigate it. So if you can log into Fabric, you get this whole list of all the crashes that have occurred. This was one from one of my recent, I think this was from one of the sporting events recently. Most of these crashes we did resolve. We wouldn't have left something with 10,000 crashes for too long. So you get a whole list of all the crashes that have occurred, and including that you can see the number of crashes, the number of separate devices that have occurred on. Sometimes you don't care so much if it's only one device that's crashing a bunch of times, but you care if it's a lot of devices. You get some great statistics, and then you can go and filter. Filter by the build numbers, you can use wildcards up there, by whether they're crashes or other errors, based on the time, and get a whole bunch of statistics. You also can do closed and open crashes and see what's going on. Oh, you can also filter by device and operating system as well. So you can then drill down into the details. You're going to get your usual stack trace here with line numbers and all that sort of stuff. A note for a hint that I forgot to put in the slides, but if you are using ProGuard, you can also upload your file, your ProGuard mapping file, and it will de-obfuscate it for you, which is great. And it will also give you your list of your devices and operating systems that this crash has occurred on. And you can further drill down by clicking on those to see exactly what models of Samsung are causing your issues, and it will be all of them, and exactly what operating systems. You get some nice graphs showing you, when this problem has occurred. Something like this would indicate to me that, this illegal stat exception, but probably I had this issue only for a little bit of time, which might have been to do with some of my data, so I can then go and address it. You get graphs, and more graphs, which is just great if you're someone like me. So this is the main dashboard you get here, showing you a whole bunch of different metrics about how your app's going. You can drill down to look into specific releases, see whether a release is successful, or previous release, or a problem release that you need to look at. And we'll give you the amount of adoption, the stability, so this was 99.3% crash-free, which was great. And you can also see how your app, each release has been adopted over time, which is pretty cool to see. You could also see things like how long people are spending in your apps, how many active users at any particular time, and then break down onto device type, operating system based on that. You can also put in some triggers in there specific to your app if you want to find out a particular metric. So, some hints on getting started with this. Monitor your crashes early and often, especially during your testing. You'll probably find a lot of the errors really quickly, and you'll get a great report of them so you can solve them quickly. You could also integrate this into Slack. So I have a Slack channel which alerts me every time somebody crashes, which can get annoying, but it also works. You can also use flavors to separate and identify your test builds or different environments if you want to isolate different things. Make use of build config in your Gradle to enable and disable Crashlytics. So you don't want this when you're developing and you crash the app all the time because you just haven't finished writing something. You can disable it for your development, so you're not getting all that sort of noise when you're going to look at what's actually happening to your users. And you can also do this for particular flavors if you want to. You can also integrate this into auto builds, which is what we do all the time. And you can use the beta tool, look at this, to send out your build to different groups of testers. I have different environments, and a different group of testers is notified about each build for those environments. You can then integrate that into Slack as well. And it gives you it lets you see who's been invited, who's accepted, who's actually launched the app, so you can kind of find out what your testers are doing. Usually, a lot of the time, it's just executives who want to know that a release has been pushed. If you're going to do this through an automatic system, you can integrate your automatic build job numbers or any other sort of flavour information as well. It can get a bit tricky if you're doing this. Here's a link you can grab off the YouTube later of how to do that, or give me a ping because it can get a little bit tricky and I can help you out. That's pretty much it. Any questions?